Number 8 is very similar to number 17. I notice in my second equation, I've got a statement that tells me y is equal to 8x minus 8. So I'm going to go into my other equation, take out the y that's right here next to the 4, and replace it with this whole sentence 8x minus 8. I'll start by rewriting. I have a negative 2x that will not change, plus 4 times, now take out the y and replace it with 8x minus 8. Oops. And then going back to my first equation, that says equal to negative 2. At this point, I've got to take care of multiplication. Remember that there's an invisible multiplication dot in between a number and parentheses that tells me I'm going to need to multiply 4 times 8 and 4 times negative 8. If I do that, I will get 32x, because 4 times 8 is 32. The second one, 4 times negative 8, will give me negative 32. Remember to use a calculator if you need one. I'm bringing down my negative 2x and my plus, and that is all equal to negative 2. I can make my railroad tracks, but I'm not ready to solve yet. What I notice is I've got some x's over here, 2 negative ones, and I've got some x's here, 32 positive ones. I've got to combine them all into one set of x's, which means I either have to punch in my calculator, negative 2 plus 32, or I've got to do my math where I decide that the positives win in this case. They have way more players. And in fact, they win by 30. They have 30 more players. So negative 2x plus 32x is 30x minus 32 equals negative 2. Now I can start solving. I'm down to 1x. That means I can start isolating it to figure out what its value is. I'll begin by adding 32 to cancel out minus 32. I have 30x equals positive 32 plus negative 2, which is positive 30. To completely isolate x, I divide by 30 on the left. If I do that, I have to divide by 30 on the right. And I have x equals, let's see, 30 divided by 30 is 1. X is equal to 1. So my final answer, getting prepared, I need an xy coordinate pair, and I know my x number is 1. Now I've got to use that x number to calculate what my y number is. Over here in my original two statements, they told me that I could calculate my y by taking 8 times whatever my x number is and subtracting 8. I'm going to take that equation and just rewrite it over here. Y equals 8x minus 8. What I want to do, just like when we substituted earlier, I want to replace my x with 1 because I have figured out that x is equal to 1. So I get y equals 8 times 1 minus 8. Now you might be able to start solving some of these in your mind. You can think to yourself, I have 8 times 1, I have to multiply first. 8 times 1 is 8. minus 8 is 0. So y is equal to 0. If you want to be very careful, you can also write out the steps and say that 8 times 1 is 8. So y is equal to 8 minus 8. And y is equal to 0 finally. That 0 goes back up in my final answer. And I've just discovered that the two lines represented by the equations to the left cross at point 1, 0. In number 19, I'm presented with something that is equal to x. The sentence 6y minus 6. Looking back at my first equation, there's an x right here, which means that I can take that x out, and in its place, I can put 6y minus 6. So I'm going to do that down below. 2 times x, well, actually I don't want to put the x there, I want to replace it. 6y minus 6 plus 8y equals 8. All right. Now I've got to focus on that multiplication. Multiplication has to happen before we can do anything else. There's an invisible multiplication dot between any number in parentheses. And in this case, I have to multiply 2 times each of the terms inside the parentheses. If I go one by one, 2 times 6y is 12y, and 2 times negative 6, remember we have to include this negative, is negative 12. I still have plus 8y equals 8. Now pausing to take a look, I notice I have 12y's here and I have 8y's here. That means that I have to combine those into one set of y's. 12 plus 8 is 20y. I've got a total of 20 y's minus 12, and that's equal to 8. Now I can create my railroad tracks because I only have one y in my problem. And I'm going to add 12 to cancel out the 12. I have over here 8 plus 12, which gives me 20. If I divide this side by 20 to isolate y, and this side by 20, I will get a statement that says y equals 1. 20 divided by 20 is 1. So in terms of my final answer, I've got my y number. I'm just going to look for my x number now. And remember, I can do that by following the directions on how to calculate something that is equal to x. I'm going to carry this equation down here. My x number is equal to 6 times my y number minus 6. We're going to substitute, just like we did earlier, a number 1 for the y, because we have calculated that y is equal to 1. X is equal to 6 times 1 minus 6. I'm going to do some mental math. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 minus 6 is 0, which means x is equal to 0. I can write that up on top. Cloud in my final answer. And that is where those 2 points cross, those lines cross on the number line. All right, the last one I'll do with you is number 20. Number 20 tells me that I can take an x and I can replace it with 2y plus 11. I'm going to take the x out in my other equation, have a 3, parentheses. Now I'm going to go back up here, replace it with this, 2y plus 11. I still have plus 5y, and that equals negative 11. So here's my invisible multiplication dot. I'm going to start here and say that 3 times 2y is 6y, and 3 times 11 is 33. I'm just copying right now everything I haven't used yet. Now, like I have been in the past few problems, I'm noticing that I've got 6y's over here and 5y's over here, and I'd like to combine them into one set of y's. 6y plus 5y is 11y. I still have plus 33. Oops, I made a mistake. Plus 33, and that is equal to negative 11. Now I can make my railroad tracks. I've gotten this problem down to one variable, so I can start by subtracting 33. That cancels on this side. I'm left with 11y equals, negative 11 and negative 33. If you're not quite sure, take your calculator and punch in negative 11 minus 33. You can also think of this as an addition problem. If I have negative 11 and now I'm adding in negative 33, my total would be negative 44. Divide both sides by 11 to isolate the y, and y is equal to negative 4, because negative 44 divided by 11 gives me negative 4. Go up to the top. Our final answer is our xy coordinate pair. Let's see, we've got a y number. Now we have to calculate an x number. So I'm going to steal this statement that tells me how to do that. Tells me x is the same thing as 2 times my y number plus 11. So I'm going to take my y and I'm going to substitute in negative 4, since we just discovered that that is what y is. Two times negative 4 is negative 8. X equals negative 8 plus 11. Now I have to either use my calculator or I've got to put on my positive and negative memory hat. And remember that I've got 11 positive players, 8 negative players. The positives win. They have more. I have to figure out how many more. X is equal to 3. I can write that in my coordinate pair. And now I've got my final answer. These two lines cross at 3, negative 4 on the coordinate plane.